Hi guys, today I'm just about to teach you regarding vector triangle theory. You already have come across this one, and in this case I'm just about to give you a quick introduction about this one. And according to vector triangle, there are four direct questions. The question number 4, question number 5, question number 6, and question number 9. So as to solve them, you should have a brief knowledge about vector triangle. මම ඒ ටික පොඩ්ඩක් දැන් කියලා දෙන්නම්. Have a good look at. When you have certain two vectors, think about one vector along this way, and if I know this one as P and another vector that is Q. So two vectors that you have, and you can represent those two vectors along the direction of the vector and the magnitude of the vector. The magnitude and the direction both can be represented by an arrow. With the length of the arrow, you represent the magnitude of the length of the magnitude of the vector, as well as direction is indicated by the arrowhead. Okay, now just let me briefly explain you about this one, how to represent this thing in a vector triangle. The simplest way is to take one of those vectors. I normally prefer to take one vector in the right hand side. That's more convenient for me in my case. And if you are kind of used to take something in the left hand side, no problem. But I used to this one, always I choose something in horizontal. That's very easy for me to draw. So I represent this vector, but I have to draw a triangle, a certain triangle, right? A triangle. But I started from here and ended up it here representing in certain line. That's a vector. And I have to start my second vector from where I stopped my first vector. Then in the direction and as well as the magnitude of that vector should be represented by that side of the triangle. අන්න side එක තමයි ඊළඟට පෙන්වන්න ඕනේ. පොඩි scene එකක් තියෙනවා. Right. Now another important thing you should know, that is nothing other than you always have to mark your starting point. Okay, what point? Your starting point. So you write certain S and circle around it. That means starting point, and you finished at this point, so write F and encircle F around it like this way. Now you got it. And finally I need to represent my final vector, that means the resultant. Now imagine if you walk through certain way and you randomly walked and you stopped, and you just have to find out how long you have been moved. So this is your starting point, this is your final point. There's one of your friend of you, and you are here, and you are just going to wave at him. You see him directly. This is your resultant, right? Resultant motion, resultant displacement. Like in the same case, if you want to represent the resultant, so you have to take the other way, right? Always remember, for vector diagram, any of vector diagram, that can be some of vector parallelogram or vector polygon, anything with any number of lines, always 2 or 3, any number of lines. If the lines are leaving from certain point, that is the point all the vectors are began. And if two vectors meeting up with each other in this way, that is the finishing point. So in this case, you have to align starting point and the finishing point. Or another way to remember this one is these two vectors, move this pen and keep moving, then you can see the stuff is moving in the direction of anti-clockwise. If your two vectors are moving in the anti-clockwise direction, your resultant vector should be opposing that one. So the resultant should be moved in the clockwise direction. That is it. Okay, this is what your resultant are. මේක හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. ඔන්න ඔය ඩිරෙක්ෂන්ස් වලට හරියට තියනවද කියලා බලන්න. තියනවා නම් ඒක completely balanced එකක්. ඉතින් මෙතන බලන්නකෝ questions ටික ගත්තාම fourth one එකේ think about the fourth one. It should be having with 3 different lines, 2 in one direction, whether anti-clockwise or clockwise. Other one should be opposing it. So for the first one, only 2 negligible one. In the second one, only 2 lines, so it's not completing a triangle. There is a side, but there's no vector, no arrow. If that is a vector, you should represent that with an arrow. Hurry. Right. The other one, there are 3 lines, but it violates this rule. Why? Starting point and ending point, it should be in the opposite direction. Think about the first case, revolving around the left hand side, sorry, anti-clockwise. The other one is also anti-clockwise. So that means you walk through this path and you came back to your starting position. That means resultant vector is 0. Last one, also it's in the clockwise direction, so no need. And for the other one, third one, this one directly represent vector parallelogram theory. That's the answer is third one. And for the other one, in the sixth question, you may check it related to this type of diagram, and you will see P and Q are in anti-clockwise direction and the R is in the clockwise direction, so the answer is 4. Simple thing, this one. And also the other diagram, you can say that the stuff is answer number 2, right? Only that one. So for the ninth one, that's it. It's a very brief explanation for this one because this is such an easy technique. Okay, and the bigger thing is for vector, that means polygon rather than 3, and it might be hexagons or something other. Have a good look at, there are many questions like 7, 8 and 10, 11, 12 and 13 and 14 and 21. There is a little bit typing mistake. I will tell when I was discussing. The typing guy has just copy and pasted the same diagram, but I advised him it's a different thing. And the exam questions, it is 1984 and 1987. That is the last question it has come for the A-level exams. මං හිපදිලත් නෑ. කාලගේ අම්මලා තාත්තලා නම් සමහරක් පිළික දිලා අවුරුදු කීපයක් වෙන්න ඇති දන ගන්නවා හින්දාත් ඒ කාලේ ආපු එක. ඉතින් ලොකෝට බය වෙන්න එපා. දැන් මේ වලින් ප්‍රශ්න එන්නෙත් නෑ. උනාට කාට හරි මේක බැරිම නම් බය වෙන්න එපා. බැරිම නම් හැබැයි try එකක් දෙන්න. ඔයාලගේ වාසනාවට මේකෙන් MCQ දෙකක් විතර ආවොත්. ඔය කියන්න බෑනේ මේක හරිය ලේසි ආවොත් ඇත්තටම ලේසියි. ආවොත් නිකන් කෙලිම බෙල්ලෙන් මල්ල ගන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි ඉතින් බෑම කියලා හිතන කෙනෙක්ටත් බය වෙන්න එපා. මේක තේරෙන්නව නැති කෙනෙක් ඉන්න පුළුවන්. අල්ලලා දාන්න. මොකද ලකුණු තව 9ක්ම තියෙනවා. හැබැයි මම කියනවා අවුරුදු දෙකක් ටයිම් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් try කරන්න. ගොඩක් ළමයි මානසිකව වැටෙන තැනක් තමයි මෙතන. මොකද වෙක්ටර් පොලිගන් එක එහෙම සමහරුන්ට කොච්චර කරත් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. සමහරු බලනවා මේ දැන් මේ වගේ එකක් දුන්නාම ගොඩක් වෙලාවට 2R කියලා වගේ ගන්න වෙන වෙලාවල් තියෙනවා. ඇයි 2R ආවේ? ඔය වගේ දේවල් සමහරුන්ට දැන් මෙතන මේ question number 7 මොනවද 7 8 11 12 වගේ දේවල් 10 පාරක් කියලා තේරෙන්නේ නැති අය ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් එහෙම අය පොඩ්ඩක් ඔය ඒ සමහරුන්ගේ අර ජියොමෙට්‍රිකල් නොලෙජ් එක හරිය අඩුයිනේ. ජියොමෙට්‍රිකල් නොලෙජ් එක අඩු වුණාට අනිත් පැති හොඳයි. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා මෙතන තමයි ගොඩක් ළමයි ඩිසපොයින්ට් වෙන තැන. අනේ මං කියනවා ඩිසපොයින්ට් වෙන්න එපා. ඉස්සරහට දැන් මේ වෙනකන් ඔයාලා ඉගෙන ගත්තේ until now you been learning about laws. It's like you been in law college. ආවේ ෆිසික්ස් ඉගෙන ගන්න කරේ laws. right? මෙසර්මන්ට්ස් වල ඉඳන් එතකොට යුනිට්ස් වල ඉඳන් මේ ඔක්කොම වෙනකන් තනිකර laws වලින් ඉන්නේ හැදුවේ. ෆිසික්ස් මැත්ස් ගාවලවත් තිබුණේ හරි කලාතුරකින්. බය වෙන්න එපා. ලීනියර් මෝෂන් වල ඉඳන් දිගටම ගණන් හදන්න තියෙනවා. නැති වෙන්න. So there are so many things to be calculated, so much of long calculation, short calculation, very interesting things. So stay tuned, focus, good luck.